Did you know that numerous faiths discuss the importance of helping others or the concept of the Golden Rule? For example, the Golden Rule in Christianity is based on the words of Jesus in Matthew 7:12, where he said, "In everything, do to others as you would have them do to you, for this is the law and the prophets." Similarly, one of the Unitarian principles states, "We affirm and promote the respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part." While the sacred text in Sikhism, the Guru Granth Sahib, states, "I am a stranger to no one, and no one is a stranger to me. Indeed, I'm a friend to all." During this module, you will have the opportunity to hear members of diverse faiths articulate why the Interfaith Build for Unity is important to them according to the dictates of their own faith, and talk about what in their belief system compels them to care about service through providing affordable home ownership and caring for our neighbors. As you listen, we would invite you to pay special attention to belief systems that you may not be as familiar with, and to learn about what values propels them to help others in our community. Then, after this video, we encourage you to take some time to consider what in your personal belief system compels you to help others personally. While we recognize that the views shared in this video do not cover all faiths and traditions and spiritual practices, we hope that they do provide a small sampling of different faiths that are currently represented in our interfaith work with the Interfaith Build for Unity at Pikes Peak Habitat for Humanity.
In Islam, one of our fundamental practices is helping others. So essentially, helping others is what being a Muslim is all about. So in the Holy Quran, God tells us that help others in acts of piety and righteousness. So we have to seek out helping those in need. It's an act of charity. It's a form of charity. And so that is one of our fundamental beliefs as well, that we have to give charity and do acts of charity and kindness, and do it with piety, not boastfulness or arrogance. You have to be as humble and as possible, and have humility in doing any kind of act of kindness or helping others or working with others. So it's very important for a Muslim to seek out any kind of charity that will assist people who are desperately in need.
Our Catholic faith tradition and scriptures have always placed a priority on taking care of the people around us. The measure of justice in the world, we've always considered how are the most vulnerable in that community faring. So we try to look around and see what the needs are of the community, and consider it a basic human right to have dignity and value as a person.
From my understanding of the teachings of Jesus Christ, he himself even said, "Foxes have holes, birds have nests, but the Son of Man hath nowhere to lay his head." And so even there, I think Christ was cognizant of the need for housing, of the importance of housing, how God provides housing to every one of his creatures. And yet, the Son of Man, even the Son of God, was below all things and did not have rest for him. It's also intriguing to me that one of the first narratives we know about the Savior on the earth is his birth, where there was no room in an inn to house him. And yet, housing was important for his birth. Even though it was a lowly stable, he still had housing as well. So for my faith tradition and from my worldview, I think that housing is a fundamental right of humanity. It's a need, just as air and just as drink and food. Housing is just as imperative for the human condition and human salvation.
In Judaism, we have this concept called tikkun olam, which means repairing the world. And we have a legend that when God created the world was this solid ball of pure light and goodness. And then for whatever reason, God literally drops the ball and it shatters into a million pieces. And that every time we do a good deed, when we help another person, we help repair the entire world. And we put a little piece of that shattering back together. And so we're commanded to always take care of each other. And whenever we see brokenness or a person in need, to do our best to help and to make it better.
One thing that's common between all the Buddhist traditions is belief that it's important to cultivate wisdom and compassion. As you cultivate wisdom, primarily in the form of seeing that we are not isolated beings outside of everybody else, but we are interwoven with everyone and everything. As we grow our wisdom, we increase our compassion.
So to me, the Interfaith Build for Unity really reflects the Christ-following tradition that we do not censor who receives grace and who receives blessing, but we welcome with open arms anyone who needs what we have to offer. That's our neighbor. And just like the Samaritan did not care about the culture or the religious status or the possible risk associated with helping another, we ought to take every opportunity to help. And I love working with people from many faith traditions who share this commitment to live out our faith in a very practical way.
People come from all backgrounds. Even when we think we are of one background within our own family, we're not. I like to think of all the cultures, all of the ideologies, the brilliance of different people coming together in a kaleidoscope. And you put each of these gemstones into a kaleidoscope, and sometimes that kaleidoscope moves in and out of focus. You can't always see the individual crystals. Sometimes they're blurry, but then when you turn just one more knob, you see a brilliant pattern, kind of like a very colorful snowflake. And this is what we are striving to do with our Interfaith Build, with our Apostles Build, by just being Habitat for Humanity. We want to acknowledge the brilliance, the gifts, the dignity of each and every person, and all the backgrounds that create us. Even though we may celebrate specific religious or cultural celebrations now, some of those came from generations back, and they've already impacted us, and they've impacted the community we live in now, and they will impact the community we are creating. Well, you have to find common ground. And one of the most common ways to do that is around the need for decent, sustainable, affordable housing. We all deserve and need a decent place to live. Not a lot of people have been out on a construction site. And when you get people together of different backgrounds, they don't see the backgrounds. They're just out there giggling because somebody just swung the hammer, or they're just actually learning to use a hammer or power tools. It is always so fun and empowering to see people, and I will say in particular women, who have never used a power tool in their life. And they're taught how to use it, and they get to measure and cut, and then they see the board that they cut or the piece of siding becoming a home. And that's what brings us together. And that's what is such a beautiful thing about our Interfaith Build.
Take the first step, which is have an open mind. Take the first step to meet somebody, either a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, a Hindu, a Buddhist, whatever it may be, whoever you're seeking to reach out to, or whatever faith tradition you're seeking to learn more about. Try to reduce your fear as much as possible and reach out. And it takes one person. It takes one person for you to get to talk to and know, and really sit down and have a conversation with. And it takes a lot to be able to do that as well. But I would say overall, take a step, and that one step could lead to many steps into the future.
I would just say start. it's really important to start working together and to acknowledge our own differences and to celebrate them. There's nothing wrong with being different. It's actually much better for the world to have as many different kinds of people as possible. And when we acknowledge our differences, when we don't have an issue with them, it's much easier to communicate with each other. Oh, I believe this. Oh, that's so interesting. Tell me more about why you believe that. Oh, that's why this works that way. And to ask curious questions as opposed to judgment. And we're not trying to change everybody. We're actually celebrating our differences. And then we can also find common ground. Because the truth is, the vision of a better world that so many of us share is really similar. We all want everybody to be happy and healthy and have access to good things. And the more different ways we have to approach that simultaneously, the more likely we are to actually get there.
The thing I would say about interfaith work, and this is my own experience of being raised as a practicing Catholic and being a member of a Zen Buddhist community, is it's going to feel uncomfortable at first, or it might. Do it anyway.
I've had a great time getting to know the various churches and mosques and temples around the area that are all coming here to support folks who really need affordable housing. I am pretty sure that El Paso County is not alone in the need for affordable housing because we have a huge need here, and the local interfaith community is stepping up to really help to address that.
If enough of us in all faiths are creating pockets of heaven on this earth, then we have enough pockets to actually create heaven on earth.